Hi everyone, this is Emil, and in this video I'm going to show you how to apply any effects to only some parts of the photo using the masks functionality in Image Blender. Now, as you know by now, Image Blender works by blending together two images, and to do this we will need one image to which the effect is not applied and another image that looks exactly the same but where the effect is already applied. In order to do this, let me launch Mixtures so that we can quickly apply an interesting effect to one of our images. So once we're in Mixtures, I'm going to just open a photo. And I'm going to use one of those three photos that we already looked at last week. Now let me just select the best one. And I think this photo should be good. Now let me crop the photo so that I like the composition. I think something like this works quite well here. So I'm going to crop. Just to do this quickly, I'm going to use formulas. I'll go to guest formulas. I'll look at all of them. And here I'll just go through the image one by one, going through the guest formulas until I find something that I like. And now here what I want to do is I want to apply some very interesting texture to the sky, and I will not apply this texture to the ground. So what I'm looking for here is essentially a texture that looks good for the sky but nothing else. And all of these are very strong and I don't like all of them, but I'm sure I'll find something out of these presets. And actually I think Formula 3 looks very good. It makes the sky very interesting, and I only want to apply this effect to the sky, so not to the foreground. So to do that, let me just tap on the OK mark here. Now the formula is added. So what I'm going to do is tap OK again and save the image to camera roll. So I'll press save icon and save to photo library. Now, as you probably remember, we don't just need the edited version of the image, but we also need the same image before any adjustments. So to do this, let me go to layers by tapping on the layers icon. And I'm just going to delete all the layers that we have here one by one. So I'm tapping X, delete layer, X, delete layer, and so on until all the layers are deleted. Now unfortunately I can't delete the first layer here in Mixtures, but what I can do is just decrease opacity all the way down to 0. And now we're back to the kind of image that we started with. So let me tap OK here, and also save this version of the image to camera roll. Okay, so now we're done with Mixtures, and let me go to Blender and open these two images and blend them together using masks. So whenever you do this, you always want to use the unedited version of the image as the background. So let me select the background here. So I'll go to camera roll, and the background image is here. Okay, looking good. Now let me select the foreground or the top layer. Once again, I'll go to library, and this image is also in camera roll. Okay, so now we have both images opened, and for now, let me just move the slider all the way to the right. Okay, and now it's time to apply masks. And to do that, we're going to use the masking tool at the top part of the window. Okay, and the way masks work in Blender is that a mask designates the area on which the top layer will be applied. In other words, where you apply the mask, you will also apply the top layer, and where the mask doesn't exist, you will only see the background layer. So let me just show you what this looks like. So now, here at the bottom, you can see whether the masking tool is on and off. So you have a pencil here, and if you select it like this, with the pencil pointing down, then you are applying the mask. And if you tap the same icon again, then you are removing the mask. So that by default the mask was applied to the entire image. And what I'm doing here is just using the eraser tool to get rid of the mask. So my goal here is to delete everything except the sky and the tree, so that the sky and the tree are covered by a mask and everything else is not covered by the mask. And there are a few settings in the mask window that could help you do this. Well, at the bottom right hand corner, if you tap on that icon, you can essentially change the view. And so what you can do with the top slider is change the opacity of the top layer, but I think it works best if you just leave it at the maximum value. And then the bottom slider essentially shows you the opacity of the bottom layer, showing whether it is displayed at all or if it's not displayed. So it's just your preference. You can do as you wish with this. And honestly, it's probably a bit easier to apply this if you actually display the bottom layer, especially here where the difference between the bottom and top layer is quite pronounced. Now you can always double tap on the image, and that changes the color of the background. So if you need to do that, you can change the color, but I don't think I like this color, so I'll just double tap again. Okay, next you also have the option to go into the settings panel, which is at the bottom left, and here you can change the touch size, which is the size of the masking tool, and I prefer to keep it something just around the size of the finger. You can turn touch indicator on and off, but you know, if it's off, it will be really hard for you to apply the mask well, so I would just keep it on. You can also do touch offset, which essentially means that if you touch on one part of the screen, the masking tool will work in a different part of the screen. But honestly, I don't think it's a good idea to do that, so I'll just reset offset so that it goes back to the center. Okay, so these are the masking settings. I'll tap done now. And another thing you might look at is this circular icon at the bottom. So if you tap on that, the masking tool becomes not as pronounced, and then what you do is apply a less sharp adjustment. But for most purposes, the sharp masking tool will work better, so let me just tap on that again. Okay, so now using all that I just showed you, I'm gonna apply the mask so that the sky and the tree are covered by the mask, but everything else in the foreground is not covered by the mask. And I'm probably going to speed up this video a bit so that you're not bored by looking at me do this. You know, it might take a few minutes until I apply the mask, and whenever you do masks like this, you want to make sure that you do them accurately, because the better you do them, the better your photo is going to look. So just bear with me for a minute while I complete this mask as accurately as I can. Another thing to keep in mind is that along the edge, you don't want the transition to be too sharp, so that's when you want to use the smooth edge icon. Okay, so now I've finally completed the mask. Well, honestly, this took me a bit longer than it should have because I made quite a few mistakes along the way. But you know, ultimately what matters here is that the mask is now completed, and that I've done it precisely, and that there are no sharp edges along the crucial line between separating the mountains and the field in the foreground. So once we have this, we can just tap on the OK mark at the top right, and now you can see the image with the textures applied to the top parts, but not to the bottom. You can still use the opacity slider if you feel like it, or if you perhaps feel that this effect on the sky is a little bit too strong. So let me just leave that at something like 95. And you can also use blending modes if you prefer to change how the effect is applied. So let me just select the blending modes icon at the top. And here you have a bunch of different options, and they all change what the sky looks like, but they do not affect the foreground because no adjustments are applied to the foreground because the mask is not there. But quite honestly, I think that normal works best here, so I'll leave it at that. Tap on the blend mode icon again, and I'm thinking I'm quite happy with the result. So right now I'm just going to save my progress using the save icon, save to camera roll, and you can use an identical editing process to apply any effect using any app whatsoever selectively using Image Blender. So that's the end of this tutorial, and in the next video I'm going to show you how to use masks to add new elements into the image that do not exist there normally.